welcome to another episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. I'm John Chen, your host. If you want all the episodes, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online, and we get all the episodes, including a new episode every Wednesday. In addition to that, if you want to learn how to be more engaging, go to the Engaging Retreat. This year is going to be October 20th through the 22nd. It'll be live here in Seattle and virtual anywhere in the world. Take your phone out, scan this QR code, and you can be more engaging in the world. All in-person attendees get 4-camera live video shot of them. So new from last year, even better this year. So exciting for that. I just returned from San Francisco, or Sausalito, California to be exact, which is the city across from the Bay or the Golden Gate Bridge. And what an incredible experience. I just want to say thank you to Blair Lacourte, who is the leader of this Helix Mastermind, 65 business owners, all clocking 10 million or more revenue. And it was just an incredible experience. There are 4 Hall of Fame National Speakers Association speakers there, a NASA panel, an entrepreneur panel, and what was my other highlight? Oh, I got to work out with Kira Stokes. Kira Stokes, apparently, if you haven't seen her, has the #1 exercise app on the Apple and Google Play Store. So go check it out. It's called the Helix Mastermind. And if you're lucky enough to be one of my friends, you can actually get sometimes a virtual pass. This last one, virtual passes were given out. So you can get a peek and be maybe that fly on the wall about learning from top speakers and entrepreneurs in the world. Speaking of top speakers and entrepreneurs, my next guest I got a chance to meet while I was in Halifax. Our next guest, he helps lawyers, executives, and creative professionals getting unstuck, finding clarity, purpose, and momentum in their careers and lives. He spent 12 years as an entertainment lawyer, and look, he survived, working with Canadian and international producers to finance and produce film and television projects. I'm excited too because we got a chance while in Halifax to visit Oak Island, and I'm actually starting to watch the Oak Island, so I want to see if he has any commentary about that. He's the recipient of a Canadian Screen Award for The Accountant of Auschwitz in 2020, as well as he's a certified Moto yoga instructor and a photographer, producer, and writer. Now let's welcome Jordan Nahmias. All right, Jordan. Now I didn't check beforehand. I'm not sure if I got your last name right.
It was close. It was close. It's a hard.
The correct pronunciation is
Nahmias.
Nahmias. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
It's a tricky one. You know, this is a lifelong journey for me, having a name that most people can't pronounce. So it's okay.
Well, you know, that's it feels like my mail, right? So, and like having a last name Chen, I've gotten Chen, Chan, Chang, and Fred.
that last one, I don't know how they get that one, but
I don't know, but that's the mass email at its finest, right, Jordan?
yeah, exactly.
Well, how you been since December? Tell me something good in your life.
Oh, everything's great. Been busy, been working. I was actually in Ottawa last weekend for a coach's retreat with a fellow capper, Fad Al-Hattab. He had a retreat there for a few of us.
Oh.
And yeah, it was nice.
No, wait a minute. Fad is a recent recipient of the Certified Speaking Professional, like last year, right?
Exactly, last year. That was very exciting for him and for us, his friends.
So
yeah, so you know, everything's good. Just keeping up with my kids and bearing the multiple feet of snow here in Toronto. And what else can I say?
Well, I know massive storm, but before the massive storm, there was Jordan. So, Jordan, do me a favor. Tell us. Some of my friends don't know you. Tell us a little more about who you are and what you do in the world.
So, well, thank you for the kind introduction. It's always funny hearing that somebody else say it. What do I do? I really care about people and their ability to access like the meaning and the purpose in their work. And really being aligned with what matters for them. So that's really what I care about. And the way I do that is through 3 sort of different things. One is coaching. So the bulk of my work is really one-on-one coaching. And then I ended up doing a little more facilitation and group facilitation out of that work. And then that led into speaking. So right now, the business is this interesting hybrid of the 3. Most of my clients are lawyers or people who want to be ex-lawyers or people who are happy practicing law, but they end up wanting to just do it a little differently and in a way that aligns more with their values and their needs. And oftentimes that happens to be spending more time with family or accessing a different level of revenue. And so the way I like to approach the work I do with people is to say, look, we're gonna access your, or we're gonna pursue these outcomes that you want, but we're gonna do it on a level of really approaching things on a developmental basis, getting really clear on what's important to you, getting really clear on how you're using your time, and being very intentional and using design thinking to really get clear on how you're going to do things. And most likely that's going to help your bottom line, but you got to trust the process. So yeah.
I don't know, Jordan. I feel like I remember having a conversation too with you around lawyers who having that desire, right? Not just to practice law, but to do using law to either do something good, make something better happen. Is that what you're seeing as a trend? That it's not just about billing rates and money. That there are many more lawyers who are choosing to practice law where they can make a difference. Is that a trend you're seeing?
I think so. I think there's always the tension of the only way for me to make a lot of money as a lawyer is to go slave away, and work these unrelenting hours.
And be a partner and all that other weird stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends what really is important to you. So I will say that I certainly see more people who are crafting their professional lives, and this isn't just limited to lawyers, that are crafting their professional lives in ways where they say, you know what, I don't need to work as many hours. I can still bill a healthy amount and yet also have time to, focus on the things that really matter for me. It's funny, in the entertainment business, you see a lot of lawyers who actually have creative side gigs, or a lot of them ended up in entertainment law because they entered it through the creative channel. So people have that itch and they just need to scratch it if they will let themselves. That's usually the challenge.
Is that a little bit around where you are? Yeah. So how did you get into the entertainment lawyer business? Did you come in, one way or the other?
It's a good question. So like many lawyers, I went to law school because I was smart and I didn't know what else to do. And
Wait. Let's go backwards. Let's go backward through school a little bit. Like, were you like in the, GATE or whatever these top, academic programs were? Were you kind of like in that, or?
no. I just did well in school. I was lucky
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
And I mean, I worked hard, but there was some luck too. And so I ended up I was a philosophy major. And what do you do with a philosophy degree? Most people go to law school or something. I wasn't going to be a philosopher.
Well, here, side note though. Wait a second. I have a side note because my daughter
Yeah,
graduated from philosophy in McAllister, and it
yeah,
turned out that at one time Amazon, for its number one hires for program managers, was philosophers.
yes. So that has changed since I was in school. When I was in school, it was like you can be an academic, which was interesting, but I wasn't sure I wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's a
Went to
path.
law school,
Yeah.
did fine, got a job, everything was great, and then I didn't get hired back at my first job. So at least in Ontario, we have articles, right? So it's kind of like a legal internship before you're a full-blown
Right.
lawyer.
Right.
So did that, didn't get hired back at the firm. Probably the best thing that ever could have happened to me, but at the time it was devastating.
Yes.
And meanwhile, simultaneously, my background was really in the arts. I'd always been painting. I had gotten into photography very seriously throughout law school. I was starting to sell a little bit of work. And then I also had started a film festival with some folks in Toronto around this time. This is 2010, 2011. And so I knew that whatever I was going to do next, if I was going to stay in law, it had to be connected to the arts somehow. And so that was my sort of side entrance back into law, with the caveat that A, can't work for anybody because I just don't know how to have a boss. And B, for better or worse, and B, it has to be something connected to creativity. And really, there's only a few areas to practice law that'll scratch that itch. And entertainment law is the most lucrative. And also, luckily, in Toronto, there's a booming film and television business. So that was just how it ended up happening. So a little bit of intention, a little bit of happenstance, but it went well until it didn't. I just got, it worked until it didn't work. I got bored.
And what was like? What's a signature of boredom for you? Here, I'll help you out. I was at Microsoft, right, and I'm working in my seventh year at Microsoft, and I start falling asleep in the design meetings, and that's where I tell people I had this saying. This is when my life changed too, Jordan. I
Yeah,
always knew I was supposed to do something. I just don't know what it is.
exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and so I don't know what did boredom show up for you for you?
I don't know if it was boredom so much as it was tolerance of being bored. Um, I always, so like you, I always knew that I needed to do something that was a little more creative, more interesting, more me,
Yeah.
um, and that was less combative. Law, unfortunately, is a little bit combative. Um, Boredom for me manifested as not wanting to go to work, avoiding the office,
Oh.
avoiding
Oh.
the clients,
Okay.
more or less just being like, I really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of those levels of resistance of like, oh, it's the thing you resist, so you should do it. It was more like, this is burning me out and I don't have energy for anything else. And
Right.
because it was uninteresting, it went from being interesting to being uninteresting. And every deal I looked at, I'm like, this is the same as the last deal. I'd rather be doing something more interesting.
So speaking of interesting, let's talk about a few of those interesting things, right? So you worked on film and television.
Mm-hmm.
What some is it? Can you share one or two interesting things? I'm going to ask you behind the scene things later. You don't say any names. You don't have to say any. You're a lawyer. You can't
I
do that.
won't.
Yeah, but I would like to see if you can share, some of the cool things that you've done. So, for instance, like I was just sharing with Jordan, in this Helix Mastermind, used to be run by Jay Abraham, who's this famous marketer, and like a very funny behind the scenes story is that he was invited to Blair, the other co-founder's wedding, and in Tiburon, which is across the water from San Francisco, after 8 p.m. you can't get an Uber because nobody drives on that side of the bridge. And so my brother has to fold down his seats in his minivan and give Jay Abraham and his third wife a ride to the hotel. So we became Jay Abraham's Uber.
Oh, that's a nice coincidence.
It was a funny story. So what about you? In the entertainment industry, what's like something cool that you can share that you worked on over the past, during those 12 years?
Well, I will say that it is far less glamorous than people think. Like it's still law. So most of the time you are, at your desk doing the work. I was lucky enough to travel with a client to Vietnam for their film. So they were shooting a film in where was it? In Ho Chi Minh. And
I haven't been
and,
there yet. That's a city I have not been yet.
ah, I love Vietnam. It's
I
amazing.
bet. I've heard.
I've been there a couple of times. It's really good. So I flew in, and it was great. It was really the first time I got to spend a lot of time on set, really get to see what it's like to make a film. Also quite boring. It's really repetitive. And, it's interesting because you're seeing how the sausage gets made, but sometimes how the sausage gets made is a little uninteresting or unappealing. But that was fun. And then, I got to spend a lot of time in Ho Chi Minh. I ended up taking a day trip, or no, a couple of nights. I actually went to Cambodia alone from there and went to, oh, I'm forgetting the name now. Uh, that massive palace in Cambodia. Angkor Wat. I went to Angkor Wat.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I
Right.
got
Yes.
managed to actually get there about 3 a.m. to photograph it for the sunrise, which was fantastic. Um, Ended up staying in a hotel that little did I know was like dedicated to penises, and I didn't know that before I booked it. So that was interesting. But yeah, no, I mean that's just one little story. The truth is like the highlights of the business for me are always meeting really interesting people who are creative, who have dreams, and they want to get stuff done, and they know it's hard, and they keep doing it anyway. And that to me was always just the best part of being in that world. And I mean, I still am to a certain degree now. Just I don't do any legal advisory. That's all.
We'll talk about this Accountant of Auschwitz. So it's a screen award. I'm curious about what your role is, and I have not seen this Accountant of Auschwitz, but obviously it sounds interesting. What
Yeah.
was your role, and what was that movie or show about?
So it's a documentary. This is wow, it's quite some time ago now. It's a documentary about the trial of a man named Oscar Gruning, who was a Nazi officer who stood at the train tracks at Auschwitz, which is a concentration camp in Poland, and would literally just count people as they came off the train, and then be involved in saying "you live or you die" right there
Ooh,
as they got off
wow.
the train. Yeah, so it's serious.
Wow.
and it's told through the lens of a Holocaust survivor, Max Eisen, and this was produced while Oscar Groening was on trial because he was one of the last, if not the last, surviving Nazi officers to go on trial. So in my my personal view, it's an important story.
Yeah.
My great grandfather died in the Holocaust,
Ooh.
so it's and I've been to Auschwitz before. I was not as a part of this shoot, but actually on a different trip, which coincidentally I'm chaperoning in April for the same trip. It's called the March of the Living. It's a group of high school teenagers who go to Poland for a week, and then they go to Israel for a week after that. But they go to Poland for a week, and you go to the camps and you go to the forests where people were killed, and it's dark, it's hard. But to me, it was a life-changing trip. So anyhow.
Wait, are some of your kids going on this trip, or is it just you're going without your kids?
No, my kids are 5 and 2, so they're not going.
Oh, they're not ready.
No, they're not ready for this. But I started the kid game late. But just through a set of odd circumstances, I got asked to be one of the chaperones on this trip, and it's pretty remarkable because there's thousands of kids from around the world who do this trip at once. Wow. And it's been going on for over 35 years now. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. But the film, I was an executive producer on it. I started as a producer, and then I just wasn't able to commit what was needed, and took a bit of a step back to become an executive producer on it. It was a great team, great filmmakers, and a really important story. And it did really well on the festival circuit. And then in Canada, our Oscars, the Canadian Screen Awards, ended up winning for a documentary, which I'm actually quite proud of. It's an important film.
Wow. Well, fantastic, Jordan. I tell every parent that if you want to do a favor for your child, is go take them on an international trip, period.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you've heard my story. Do you know what a paper sun is?
Yes. Well, maybe you might have explained this to me, but tell me again.
Yeah, so the short version is there's a famine in China, so everyone, and then there's this stories of the gold rush, what is known as Gumsan, the land of the golden hills, hits China in 1800, becomes like the .com in the 1800s. But they thought, and some Americans thought all the Chinese were taking all the railroad jobs and other jobs, so they passed the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. And during my visit in Halifax, I didn't know that Canada actually passed a similar law about 20 years later, restricting Chinese from Canada. So
That's
anyways,
right.
you can't get in. It took hundreds of thousands of Chinese immigrants down to 106 a year. But there's a loophole in the law. The loophole in the law says if you're the son of a merchant, a business person, somebody who's more educated, you get in. So San Francisco, now where I was, of course, 2 days ago, 1906, earthquake. Right? But it's not the earthquake that messes up the town. Everyone the next day tries to make breakfast, lights the whole town on fire. Burns everything. And as Jordan has now, all right, as the lawyer is going to know, hit the town hall, which has all the birth records.
Yeah, of course.
So once they put the fires out, they restored the town. They came back and they said, hey, everybody in San Francisco, if you had kids, stop by the town hall. We'll write you a new birth certificate. And every Chinese business guy's like, yeah, I got 5 sons. Right, I got 6 sons, and that's why they're called paper sons. They never existed. They got sent back, and they were sold on a kind of a black market in China. And my grandfather, he was adopted, and his uncle sold a third of his farm to lend him the money to buy the birth certificate, a third-class ticket, and a book about his fake family that he has to study in the 3 months to America. So, and 3 days before they get to San Francisco, they all have to get up on the edge of the boat, and they got to throw their book into the ocean, because you can't get caught with that. That's cheating.
Yeah.
And then, so let's see, Jordan, have you ever been to San Francisco?
I have. I've been there a number of times, actually.
So have you been to Alcatraz?
I have.
Yeah. So the island next to it is Angel Island. Have you been to Angel Island?
I have not, no.
So next time, go to Angel Island, because then you'll see there was an immigration station there. That's the Ellis Island of the West. And so they come into there, and they would quarantine them on the island for disease and all sorts of other purposes. And then what happens is they'd stay there for anywhere from 2 weeks to 18 months And the Chinese were the worst because they would interrogate you. They would ask you questions that you wouldn't even know about your own house, right? Where's a cat like to sleep? How many stairs from the first to second floor? How many windows do you have on the west side of your house, right? Who likes to come over on Thursday? If you get any one of those wrong, you're deported.
Wow. Wow.
And about 10% of 2,200,000 got deported. And most of them, like you probably know now because you've traveled in Asian countries, the concept of, all right, don't losing face.
Yeah,
You never want to
exactly.
lose face. So
Yeah.
a lot of them would come back, and when they failed, they found out they failed the immigration test, they were going to get deported. They'd rather kill themselves than go home and face the shame.
Oh my goodness.
So it turns into a life or death game, and you don't know that when you buy it. But luckily, my grandfather gets through. He knows two English words, Susan City. It's a city 90 minutes from there. He works for 5 years, saves 40 gold nuggets and coins, sews them into a coat so people won't steal it from him, and takes his next big risk. He leaves America, goes back to the village he grew up in, gets a village matchmaker who gets his wife, who becomes our grandmother, brings them both back, and because she's got a marriage certificate and he bought a first class ticket, she
Yeah.
bypasses the whole system. And now the two of them create a family of five, of which one of five kids, all five graduated college, two PhDs. One of them is my mom. And
Wow.
I wouldn't be on the Zoom call and this podcast with you, Jordan, if it wasn't right for the bravery and the entrepreneurship and the courage of my grandfather. And the funny part is, like, I'm working on a book and I'm working on a movie script for this story because 99+% of Americans don't know, and
I
probably
was just going to
100%.
ask if there's been a movie produced about this, because I mean that is fascinating, whether documentary or scripted. Honestly, like that's an important piece of history.
Yeah, yeah. So like in the film history, it's like so you probably know Crazy Rich Asians came out to big fanfare.
Yeah.
That was 100% Asian Pacific Islander cast. What was the only movie before that that had Asian Pacific Islander? We were playing trivia earlier with Jordan. I don't expect him to know this.
This one I don't know.
Yeah, Amy Tan's Joy Luck
Joy
Club.
Luck Club. Oh my goodness.
25 years earlier, there have only been two Hollywood-style movies that have 100% Asian Pacific Islander cast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really surprising.
And what's really surprising to me, during my visit to Halifax, we went to that station. Halifax is the Ellis Island of Canada's east.
Yeah.
And it came around there and it said something I thought that was really extraordinary. I think something like 1968, Canada removed all of its restrictions for immigration, besides being a criminal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my community also a lot of challenges with immigration. It's been, and it's not just Canada, it's not just the States, it's a lot of places, but it's I think that's been an interesting challenge for a lot of us, or at least in part of our histories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little more about around the history.
Send the script, man. Send the script when it's ready. I want to see it.
I know. I have to think of it expedited. I have a book that's waiting. My next book called Engaging Meetings, of course, on topic with my stuff. And this book is sitting here because my grandparents, my uncles and aunts all spent quite a bit of time documenting this. So we have. I was actually the family member that was in charge of doing high quality digital scans of all the original documents. So we have them all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we have them all.
Yeah. That's amazing. My father just got a bunch of originals. So my entire family's from Morocco, and his brother recently passed, but apparently he had been holding on to all this original documentation from when they had to leave Morocco. And so, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I can't wait to, because that's going to be interesting.
I'm looking here, which is, I think I can actually bring up, like his immigration certificate, which is really, I think, one of the most important pieces. Let's see if I can get it. 3, 2, 2 3/4. Oh yeah, look, I got it. 1.
Wow.
That's what all that work at the end of the process. If you get this, you can now actually get into America. This is the immigration, and this is actually housed in Seattle. The National Historic is near my other house that I had inside of there.
Wow, that's amazing. That is super cool.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, and it's great. Thank you for that. I mean, that process of turning a script into a movie is a long journey and doesn't always
Yes.
survive, right?
No, most of them don't. Most of them don't. There are many that I in my time working on and I work for producers. I didn't act for writers, but even for producers, you always got to be as good at what's in your back pocket, and most of the time the thing in your back pocket's not going to get made. It's incredibly challenging to finance a film and to get the money and the buy-in from just everybody involved.
Yeah.
I produced a short 2 years ago now. Hey, it's a short. Like, it's not the most complicated thing in the world. The financing, we were very lucky we were able to put together, but even that was the biggest challenge. And then once you have the money, it's like, okay, great. Well, now I need to get the actual people to do the work, and of course, they need to work for the amount of money that you have, and so you got a little bit of finagling there and calling in a lot of favors, and it's a really rewarding, amazing process, especially when you see the finished product and you're like, wow, I made that. It's like producing a conference. You see the thing get built and you're like, wow, okay, like we actually did this.
Oh,
But
I produced my sixth conference last year called the Engaging Retreat. It's the second year it's been hybrid. I started it the year that I published my book in 2020.
yeah,
And last year's program was literally one of the best. It is meant to be a small, right? There was probably like 45 people, and it's the right number where everybody gets to know each other.
yeah,
We had extraordinary people like Tim Gard, Brian Walter, who are some of the top, NSA or National Speakers Association speakers were there. And yeah, just when you get a conference right, it just really becomes a moment. It's like getting a movie right, but it's
yeah,
hard because it's happening in real time.
yeah, yeah. And you can't go back, right? Like, it's so expensive. I mean, with a conference, it's live. Like, you are definitely not going back. And
Yeah.
even with a film, it's like, you know what it takes to go back in time and reshoot something or re-edit something, or even like it's so expensive. It's
Yes.
so hard.
Yes.
And you want to. It's like, even like setting up for our conversation today. I can see that, like, you're trying to get it all on camera, because it's so much easier to just get it done while you're shooting than to have to figure it out in the edit or to figure it out later. Just get it while it's in the camera.
Well, there's two actually. That's great. I love that. Jordan, this is where live has value, right?
Yeah.
And number one is that I tell people that I have a no edit podcast, and then their ears pick up. They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I have a no edit podcast," and I said, "Here's the two things. Number one, if you put enough stuff in here, like playing the video and all that other stuff, then you have that. And the second part is a little more nefarious, but most important is that the authenticity skyrockets, right? Jordan can't take any of his words back. So, if he slips or something or another, right, that's in there. And I think the audience enjoys that. By the way, I want to say hi to our good friend Victoria Sanchez, who's been watching us.
Oh,
And those are the things, is that we get live comments, and sometimes people view these things. That live has value because it's just, now it's really truly us having a conversation unedited.
yeah, yeah,
And it's about what we're thinking and feeling at the time. And, if I had a script, or I'm probably off of it already. And that's actually, I think, the best part about it is
yeah,
that it allows me, as the moderator or the host of the show, to go in any direction that we feel like we're going in together.
yeah.
So
Exactly. It's like, I find that to be like when you watch theater. Even though
yes,
there's a script, that every time you see it, it's going to be different. And
yes,
film tries to capture that, and sometimes it can, right? And most of the time it doesn't. But it really is something that is, I don't know, it's ineffable, right? And you
yes,
know it when it's happening.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, kudos to you for doing this, and thanks for having me on, by the way. But
yeah, yeah.
it's
Okay, speaking of which,
it's very cool.
speaking of script, right, it's funny because I send Jordan 3 questions. There's only 3 questions. I haven't asked him any of them yet. That's the best part. We're like 26 minutes already into this interview. All right, so the one is, as a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. You're an entertainment lawyer, so you're a little more behind the scenes. So, but our speaker friends had a very difficult transition. It's back to March of 2020. Where were you, Jordan, and what happened to you?
March of 2020, the film and television business shut down. It was my birthday. I remember that. So we shut down March 13th. My birthday was a week or two later. I remember somebody dropping off a birthday present, like in a in a plastic bag with like like a sanitizing wipe,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and honestly, it was a slow few months. It was a really quiet few months, and it's interesting because it slowed down enough that I could be like, oh, and I was recently married, so my wife and I had been together maybe 8 months by then. Married, we'd been together longer, but
Yeah.
we were married about 8 months. We were planning to renovate our house. We were about to move out of our house. Actually, I recall that. So there was a lot going on, and meanwhile, there was very little work.
Yeah.
And so I was like, great. And what was interesting about that time was that it got me to, for the first time in a long time, start going back to a lot of creative practices because I had the time.
Yeah.
And I was also in like excellent shape because I had a lot of time to work out. And I also had no children back then, so I really had a lot of time. And it was, it was an interesting time, and it was the first time in a very long while up till then that I had started to feel free enough in my mind to start to explore like, what would it be like if I don't do this work? And that was challenging.
Yeah.
And then of course, shortly thereafter, the film and television business started, like I'm sure the conference business and every other business started to be like, okay, we need to get back to work because we're all hemorrhaging too much money, but we need to now do this in a way that's COVID safe. And so most of my time after that was spent negotiating or renegotiating agreements to basically change things around so that it complied with COVID regulations.
Health protocol.
Yeah. So for instance, like Canada's the process in Canada was a little different than in the States, but for instance, in the States with SAG-AFTRA, I should say, there were various zones on a production. And if you were in zone A, you couldn't go into zone B, and your PPE requirements were different based on which zone you were in. And that was based on what category of worker you were. And it was honestly just terrible. It was terrible. And then you had a lot of people saying like there was a lot of arguments around, we have to cancel this production. And does this count as a force majeure?
Right.
And a lot of arguing around, well, yes, this is. And well, no, you didn't consider this. And it doesn't specifically say epidemic. And then like, well, is this an epidemic? And it's like, I mean, you do that enough. And it's like, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. So yeah.
I'm also a member of Meetings Professional International, and they're still hashing out force majeure.
Yeah.
Ruling, because there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars,
millions of dollars,
hotels, meeting planners, right? Just food and beverage. And then, and there was also fascinating things. I was a fan of, British baking show, and they decided to build a bubble, so you had to test into the bubble.
Yeah.
And it just, I'm sure there were parts too where there were outbreaks. Like if somebody gets sick, like it really changes everything.
Oh yeah. I remember there was one show I was working on, and every day you had to take a COVID test and then send a photo of the test to production before you got in the car to go to the set. Oh. And yeah, because you'd have a driver, right? And like it was just, it was madness. And I mean, I get it. Everybody was doing the best they could, right, with what they had.
Yeah.
But man, was that exhausting. It was exhausting. And really, for all the stuff that got shut down, a lot of people's livelihood was seriously affected by that, right? Because you got on a film, whether it's a short with 25 people in the crew or, a feature with 1,000 people in the crew, every single one of those people has a role, and they're relying on that work, and when it shuts down, it's okay, great. How am I going to fill that gap? So,
but it goes the other way too. If you get sick while you're working, and you have, like, again, I got a number of friends who had long-term COVID, or one of them, he went to a respirator in the early stage before all the vaccines were out, and it took him 8 months before he could take a walk.
That is wild.
It was just too much on his lung capacity level.
Yeah.
And that's why this thing, I mean, it was serious. It was definitely a serious thing, and it had impacts. And so, It's hard to say. I mean, I feel fortunate. It was a gift for me, to be
Yeah.
honest, right, John? I'm one of the few people that I can say actually it was better for me in COVID, right? Because then now that the world's open up, there's not as much virtual stuff, and so now I got to go back out and do things like drive to San Francisco.
Yeah.
But you know, it was definitely a unique amount of time, and I think one of the things maybe you saw too, maybe Jordan as a coach,
Mm.
is how do lots of different people deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, I still see now. So it's back, back then I wasn't in any formal role as a coach. I was still a lawyer, and you're sort of just observing, right?
Yeah.
Um, but now I still see how this impacts people. The lingering effects of this are, I mean, this is in the zeitgeist, right? But
Yeah.
way more technology addiction, way more resistance to going out in general,
Yes.
way more resistance to people working in an office. Everybody wants to stay home. Like I will say that this is an ongoing challenge for law firms specifically, but I think it's every professional firm where folks of a certain generation are just like, look, I don't need to be at the office to do work. And I get it. You can be productive at home, sure, right? But there is something else that's missing. Like you need the friction. Like people need to come into contact with one another. And I think and this is just my own view, but like, we lose a little bit of our humanity when we just take that out. I mean, I know I certainly did. Not seeing people, and like it made me crazy. It really made me crazy. And like I would get into arguments with friends of mine, being like, "Come on, let's just come over." Like, and no, can't do it. It's like, but don't you see what we're losing?
Yeah, there was some great stories. Someone made a backyard,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right? The
Oh yeah.
backyard. Then you can have come over, but you're
Yeah.
outdoors. You're more than 6 feet away,
Yeah. We did
right?
that. We
Blah
did
blah
that.
blah. Right.
Although
So
in the Toronto winter, there's only so many propane heaters you can set up until it becomes like a fire risk, right?
when you're in a place too when you can throw hot water into the air and make snow, it's over. Then you're just like, I'll just drink inside my home by myself.
Honestly, at that rate, it's like I'm going in, guys. Sorry.
All right, let's see. Well, so did you do any virtual meetings then? So it's cool that you took a break, right? But did you have
Yeah.
to go back to virtual meetings? And were you doing a lot of that beforehand, or where is it new to you like many?
Never,
Never.
never,
Yeah.
never.
Face
I
to
am
face.
a I
Face to
am
face.
a coffee, lunch, dinner,
Yep.
schmooze guy. And
Right.
once COVID hit, I was like, okay, this is nifty. Like we get to see each other on a camera. And it was very effective. To tell you the truth, it was very effective because I could see people's reactions in different ways than on the phone.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
but the pressure, as you know, was also like, great, I'm going to be on camera today. Okay, I got to look a certain way, and like, well, yeah, I've never shaved, so it doesn't matter. But like the but like the nice thing about practicing law was that like I can take a call from anywhere, and I can be in a t-shirt and shorts, and who cares? Nobody's going to care, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that was an interesting challenge because the upside was I got to see people more than I didn't get to see, right? Especially people in other, like I did a lot of
Hmm.
work across borders in the different territories and different time zones, and like it was nice to see people I was never seeing.
Hmm.
But there was, of course, a cost to it, which is like the just being on the screen even more than I already was.
Yep.
So that ramped up significantly and like immediately. And then it sort of tapered off a little bit. I think people kind of realized like look, again, I've always worked for myself and in client service businesses. And so for coaching calls I do on camera, right? But anything else I generally say like let's meet or let's just get on the phone. Like there's no need for it.
So
So
I want to go to the coaching on camera part. What's
yeah.
something that like a practice of yours or something you discovered that was really helpful for you as a coach? Because I heard coaching is one of the top businesses right now that can actually stay 100% virtual and be very, very effective. So I'm just curious for you, what's a coaching practice that you have?
Well, so very early on in my coaching work, I was like, I need a teleprompter because unless I'm making eye contact with somebody, I can't, it doesn't work.
Yes.
Right. So, and by the way, it may work for the client. It doesn't work for me. I can't feel they're feeling, if the eyes are the portal to the soul, then I better get some good eye contact. So that was one thing I did immediately. The advantage of this over doing it with on the phone is that I get to, you see posture, you see face, you see tension, right?
Yes.
You see all the things that we need to see in our communication with one another. And that lets me pick up on things with people. It also, by the way, and I mean, I turn off my self view usually, but like, it also frankly lets me know, what am I doing? Am I interested? Am I sitting back? How's my posture today? So it's that to me is really, really important. And it's actually pretty critical. I think that, is it being in the same room as somebody? No, but does it approximate it enough that like I can get the extra information I need? Yes. Because if I just do it on the phone, then I need to be working that much harder to really hear, how are they breathing? How is the tone of their voice? Right. So it's not impossible. Like, for instance, my own therapist, we speak on the phone. We don't do virtual. We don't see each other in person. And to me, that was a big shift after having been with a therapist that would only see me in person for so many years. But I don't know. I mean, it seems to work. I think it's a credit to the service provider's skill if they're able to glean as much information as possible given the tool that they're using. And go ahead.
There's one person who has research where she was actually doing brain scans of people, virtual, hybrid, in-person, and phone. And that there are certain types of conversations that are better by phone because you stay more focused on the auditory content of it.
Exactly. It's about the words, and it's also about the like what I would always do, as when I was practicing law, is phone, earpiece, get up, pace.
Move.
Get rid of any screen. It's the only way I can focus on what's really being said. And then I'd always have a pad of paper, and this is before AI, and so I'd be making all my notes. So now it's a shift. There's no question, but I enjoy it. I mean, I have a decent setup. My setup is not your setup, but I have a decent enough setup that when I'm with somebody, it feels natural enough, and that works. And to be honest, clients like it. They don't necessarily want to get up and get in the car and go, and especially in a city like Toronto or almost anywhere, finding parking and blah, 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 blah. So, for now it's okay. We'll see what happens in the future.
Well, what's a wish or what's something you see 5 or 10 years into the future with either virtual or hybrid?
Ooh, smell-o-vision? No.
That's already possible right now. Somebody invented something where you could pipe in, it was like a device here, and you could send it commands to pipe in some type of smell. It's not
honestly, I don't want to smell what's going on in people's houses.
I don't think
really
so either.
Yeah. If there were a way, I mean, I know there is a way, it's just not how we generally do it, but to see people's full bodies. So like, what are they doing with their legs? How are they sitting? Yeah. I mean, we could do that, right? Yeah. But like more in the context of like a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's so much, and it's not because I need to see what you're wearing, below your waist. It's because there's so much else going on. Are they tapping their foot? Are their ankles crossed? Are they sitting with their legs open? Like there's all these nonverbal cues that are just as important in conversation as everything that's happening, in this window. So that would be interesting to me. Other than that, I'm content.
It's like holodeck, right? If you watch enough Star Trek, it's like holodeck. If you and I could actually sit across from each other physically, it feels like we're in the same space.
Yeah.
All right. And now you can see all the things you would normally see in person. That's on my list of like, one day it's going to do that. VR, it's still kind of awkward and clunky, but that's weird. The effect.
Right? Yeah, it's weird. And it makes me dizzy. So I just don't.
And it makes it, it still doesn't work with that. All right. Well, Jordan, you've come to the most exciting part of this conference, or this interview, which is known as the speed interview. I've been writing questions while we've been talking, right? And your job is to answer them as fast as possible. and then I play some ridiculous noise. Are you interested and
Well,
available
that's the
to?
coin. That's a Mario coin right there. So I know that.
That's right. Or how about?
Oh,
I've got a
there's a
good
camera.
selection of them. Okay, are you ready, Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Best yacht rock song.
Pretzel Logic by Steely Dan.
Yeah. See. Oh wait. Slow coin. Most useful yoga pose for beginners.
Shavasana.
Yeah. Lay down. Do nothing.
Yeah.
Watch this one. Check this out. One sentence comment about this photo.
Why so many necklaces?
Okay, what about what about this photo?
Why so serious?
Oh. I chose these. These are from my good friend Adam Bacher, who shot at this last conference, and I just thought there was something about this photo around the contrast of lighting that I think he got right. But that's just
The photos themselves are fantastic. Like it's not. This is not a comment on the quality of the photograph.
right. I asked for a one-line
Yeah,
comment about
yeah.
it. Okay, what do you still love about law?
It's hard to say because I don't practice it, but I'll tell you what I loved about it that I still get to do, which is I get to speak to a lot of people. I get to be really curious about people, and I get to go beyond simply just the surface issue. The way I practice law, which I do more of this now, is I cared really about the people I was working with beyond simply just you're paying me to put your legal issue into my magical black box and then spit out a solution. I cared about what they were doing, what was going on in their lives, and knowing that like this business issue is really tied to something else. And if I can make this easier, then this will also probably be easier. So yeah, that's the thing I always liked about it. And luckily I still get to do that, without some of the harder parts of practicing law.
Like arguing about money or COVID practices.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to argue about money once in a while, assuming it's about my own bill being paid. But otherwise, it's fine.
Well, I think that's what we spend most of our time in caps is our speaking fee, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the number one facilitation question or practice you have.
Ooh. Number one facilitation question or practice I have. Huh. That's actually a really good question.
Thank you.
And I know this is the speed round, so I'm trying to go fast here.
Here's the best part. Watch. Ready, Jordan? Take your time.
Oh God. That actually is my dream is to be on Jeopardy. That is my dream. I cried a lot when Alex Trebek passed away. Yeah. Special guy.
Yes.
I would say my go-to is to use, so in icebreakers, just to pick really random things, but to get to people, like to talk about something about themselves that nobody's really asking them, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So like the one I did last week was your favorite snack, right? And like this was for a group of kids and it was great. Then they actually got really excited about, oh yeah, I love eating this. So that's that. And then once we're actually into the facilitation, I usually like to ask people to say, okay, now what is happening in between all of us right now? Like what's in the space in the middle, right?
Yes.
And that tends to get people to reframe their thinking about what's going on, because we're all, and we're all in our heads. And it's if we can just get out of there once in a while, stuff happens.
There you go. Oh wait, hold on. I had a better one for you.
So my wife. I have an app on my phone that does that because we went on a trip to Jamaica once, and everything that happened, I would just blow that horn, and I get a lot of grief for that still.
It's love grief.
Yeah, well, yes, that's what I'm going to stick by that story. Yeah.
Patricia Fripp just recently posted a question that you might want to add to your icebreaker. It was, what did you want to be when you grow up? When you were little, what did you want to be when you grow up? And she said it was very enlightening because she recently used the question on like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers that she had to podcast interview.
Oh, I am going to add that one to my list, actually.
Yeah,
I think I have that in one of my like conversation decks.
very
Um,
cool.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It's going to be in the list. Thank you,
Okay,
Patricia.
last question. Last question. If you could just get people to magically remember one thing from this podcast, what would that one thing be?
Besides that, like blowhorn, I one thing I would hope people would remember is that, the path you're on isn't necessarily the path you have to be on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Say, I'm going to allow you. Say just a touch more. Why would you choose that?
Well, to the question of what do you want to be when you grow up, right? I think so many of us have an idea of where we want to go, and then we end up on these paths. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like, how many times do you question? And if it's working for you, great, stay on it, right? But if it's not, you have authority, you have agent, to use a buzzword, you have agency, and as long as you're willing to do the work, which sometimes might be too much, and that's okay, then take some steps, right? So, like, is my journey out of law and into this work that I'm doing now easy? No, it would be way easier to just stay on the track of being a lawyer. But
But
I don't know. I feel called to it, and I would really regret not responding to that call. And it took me many, many years to accept that. So, yeah, if there's one thing somebody can walk away from this conversation with, it would be that.
I'm going to pull my add-on for that too, which is you'll also recognize later that everything you ever did and be in the earlier stages of your life was a step to here.
Exactly.
And people forget that. They're like, oh, why did I have to do that? Why did I have to suffer? And suddenly you realize, right? You would not be Jordan and have the experience to do all this coaching if you didn't have this 12 years of experience in the entertainment
industry. Well, there's a whole wounded healer thing going on there.
Which is a whole other podcast.
A whole other podcast, man.
Oh my goodness, Jordan, thank you so much for spending a little time here, sharing your experience as well as facilitation tips. That's something I did 28 years of team building, so I'm very, very interested in anything on the facilitation side.
I mean, I should be getting the tips from you then. You know.
And kudos to the DJI mini mic, right? That's actually one of my top tech tips. Go get one of those mics. So, Jordan, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. I guess next time it'll be in your hometown at CAPS convention.
Yeah. That's coming up quick. I'll see you there for sure, if not beforehand.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thanks, John.
Oh, wait. Now I removed myself. This is great. Hold on a second. There we go. How about this? Okay, cool. Let's see. We've been chatting here with Jordan from the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, yacht rocker, yoga expert, and his top thing really is around, right? You might be on the path and you might not be on the path, and you should probably take some time to recognize that and have it be okay to pick a different path, especially if it requires some effort. I think what Jordan might have been implicitly saying too is that it's worth the effort to get on this other path, especially if you feel called to do it. Speaking called to do it, if you're called to be here on social media with us, make sure to subscribe, share, like, comment here on the Engaging Virtual Meeting podcast. Over 200 episodes have already been completed. If you want them all, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online. A new episode releases every Wednesday, so you're always getting new content. If you want to learn how to be more engaging in the world, as well as being on video, this year every attendee gets at least 5 minutes on stage, recorded with 4 cameras, October 20 through 22nd for in-person, and you can watch anywhere from the world. Scan this QR code, get a free ticket, or, of course, upgrade to one of our VIP seats. And the last part is, if you want to be like Jordan, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you too could be the next guest here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Happy February, everybody. We'll see you at the next show.